Hello there, my name is Madeline and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 book tag. I saw this circulating around from a couple of different people and it looked like a lot of fun and I wanted to answer these questions. So I thought, why not? There are only 5 questions and it's a mix kind of about what I've been reading lately and enjoying, my reading habits and tastes, and things like that. So let's just jump right into the questions. First one is 5 recent 5-star reads. So I'm going to pull up my Goodreads. I have a couple of books on here that I've read recently that I really enjoyed that could be 5-star books, but I need a little bit of time to sit with them and make sure they're 5-star books. Sometimes a book immediately I know after finishing it is 5 stars. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to really cement whether or not that book is 5 stars for me. I have a couple of them on here already that I know of that I'm not quite sure about yet. So I'm going to put those books aside, not count them, but they could be 5-star reads. I'm gonna go with the ones that I've read recently that I know for sure were 5-star reads. And the first one is a book I finished just the other day, The Lark Shall Sing by Elizabeth Cadell. I heard about this, I believe, from Kate Howe, and this was absolutely lovely. I enjoyed this book so much. It is a story of 6 siblings. The oldest is in her mid to late 20s and the youngest is in elementary school. And their parents have died, and so the oldest has kind of taken charge of the family, taken everyone under her wings, and she has decided, after they've all spent a year kind of doing their own thing, that she's going to sell their beloved family home. And she writes a letter to all of the siblings, and the story goes on from there. This was such a sweet story. I loved every single character in this book, which that's not always the case, and that's so special because there were 6 siblings and then there were some side characters, and just everyone had such unique personalities but was so interesting. I had the best time reading this book. It was sweet, it was comforting, it was cozy, it was wonderful. And I'm continuing on in the series. There are 3 books that follow this family, so I'm started book 2 already and I'm enjoying that as well. So maybe that will be 5 stars also. All right, I have to scroll down quite a bit to get to my next 5-star book, and it's actually behind me. And that is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read this summer and I absolutely adored it. I think it's my favorite Jane Austen book that I've read so far. I haven't read all of her major novels yet, but I just loved this. It's a second chance story. Our main character, Anne, is such a likable and lovable protagonist. She's so wise and so smart. Even though everyone around her isn't necessarily that way, she just is such a great character, and there was so much I really enjoyed about this book. So Persuasion, I feel like it doesn't get as much love as some of Jane Austen's other books, but this was so great. See what else I have in 5-star read. Another summer read, which is also behind me. And that is Heidi by Johanna Spyri. I don't know. I still don't know. This is a children's classic, obviously. I feel like everyone kind of knows the story of Heidi, so I won't say too much. But if you haven't read the book, you should, because it's lovely and so sweet and just so beautiful. Like, the descriptions of the mountains and the nature were wonderful. There's a lot of wisdom in this book that I think even as an adult you can appreciate maybe more than as a kid. So if you haven't read Heidi, I would recommend it. I have A Game of Hearts by Joanna Barker. I believe that's her name. This was a Regency era historical romance where our main characters are rival archers. They're competing against each other. They're like the 2 best archers in their town. And this is a true enemies to lovers romance because they despise each other at the beginning, and they've despised each other like their whole lives because their families have been friends. So they've been around each other forever and they just do not like each other. This was such a good enemies to lovers because you really see the progression of them hating each other and then moving towards falling in love. And this is one of the best romance books I've read, period, in a long time. And I recommend it so much. It's a clean, very sweet, lovely romance book. Let's see, what was my last 5-star book? I have to scroll way down because I'm real stingy with 5 stars apparently. But my last 5th 5-star book is My Side of the Mountain by Jean Craighead George. This is such a sweet middle grade classic book that I read during our family vacation in the mountains, and that setting just made this even better. It's basically the story of a young boy who leaves his home behind. He's from New York City. He leaves his home, goes into the Catskill Mountains, and survives for a year, maybe more. I can't remember exactly. It was a long time. He makes it through winter, and he basically has no survival skills, or very few survival skills when he leaves home, and he has to figure everything out on his own. There was such beautiful descriptions of nature and of resilience, and I really, really enjoyed this book a lot. Next up is 4 auto-buy authors. So I assume auto-buy, they're talking about authors that you would pre-order, that you would buy their new release books immediately. And that's not always the case for me because living in France, in Europe, it's hard to get English books. Not only is it hard, but it's also expensive. So I don't always buy physical books immediately when they release. I might try to see if I can get them from a library in the US. Not all of these I would actually immediately buy, but there are authors who are currently releasing books that I want to read their new releases sometime soon. And some of them I have read so far, everything they've written. Some of them I haven't. Because I've discovered them more recently, so I have some backlist to work on while I'm waiting for new releases. But anyways, let's get into the authors. First up, we have for middle grade, Anna Rose Johnson. She's only written 2 books so far. The first one I've read, loved, gave 5 stars, The Star That Always Stays. The second one, I'm having a hard time tracking down here, so hopefully I will be able to find that soon and read it and love it. But she writes cozy middle grade historical fiction that feels very reminiscent of classic books. The one that I read, The Star That Always Stays, had a lot of references to classic literature, so if you love books, if you love children's literature, you would really enjoy this book because our main character loved books so much, and that's always fun to read about, characters that love the books that you love. So I highly recommend Anna Rose Johnson, and I believe she's working on a new book. I don't know if there's any timetable for when that will be out, but I'm excited to read it when it comes out. Switching gears, I have an author who writes middle grade, but also now some adult fiction, and that is Claire Swinarski. I really enjoy her writing. I've only read some of her middle grade before, but she has an adult novel that came out this year. She has another middle grade novel that's coming out this fall, pretty soon, I believe. And yeah, I really enjoy her books, and I need to work a little bit through her backlist because I have a lot to read from her already. But I'm excited to read her new middle grade that's coming out this fall. It's called Take It From the Top. It's set in a theater camp, summer camp, and I feel like I'm gonna have to wait to read that one though till next summer because it's already fall in my mind and I can't read a summer camp book in fall. So I'm sorry, I'll have to wait till next year to get to that. But I really enjoy Claire Swinarski's writing. Next up, an author who I have read her 2 books that she has published so far. It's only 2. There's a new one coming out, and that is Becca Kinzer. She writes contemporary Christian romance that is laugh out loud funny, so good. I adore her contemporary romance, and that is saying something because I'm very picky and stingy with contemporary romance, and her books I have given 5 stars. She has a new one coming out this fall, I believe, Love First, Second Draft. I'll put a picture up. I think that's the title of it. but I'm eager to get my hands on this because her romances are so much fun, and I think this has some sports elements to it, which is something different from her other books. All right, that was 3. I'm trying to think about the last one, and I think I'm gonna say an author who I just recently discovered, but I know she's working on other books, and so I'm gonna include her because I'm excited to see what her new release is, and that is Alyssa Zavalianos. She writes fantasy, Christian-inspired fantasy that's very reminiscent of Lewis and Tolkien and all of that. And I read The Earth Treader recently, a couple months ago, and really enjoyed it. And she has a couple of other fantasy books and a short story poetry collection that I haven't read yet and would like to get to. But I know her new work in progress, what she calls Project Whales. It has something to do with whales, and I love whales, so I'm eager to see what becomes of that. It might be a ways away, but I really enjoy her fantasy and would definitely recommend that. Next, we have 3 favorite genres. Like, I read pretty eclectically, but first up is probably, well, it's probably a tie, my top 2 genres that I read between classics and middle grade. And yeah, I've been discovering and exploring more of Victorian literature, which Victober is coming up in October, where you read Victorian literature, and so that's been really fun. I've been enjoying a lot of what I've been reading in that. And then middle grade, I love reading classic children's literature that I never read as a child, but I also am trying to discover some more modern things that are lovely middle grade books as well. So those are probably my top 2 genres. And then my third genre is probably, could go either way depending on the mood and the season, would either be mystery or romance. I read those probably pretty equally as well. Right, for 2, we have 2 favorite places to read. The 2 places that I read the most often are probably the couch and my bed. But 2 of my absolute favorite places to read, I would have to say outside, laying in the grass on a nice summer day. And another place that I love to read that I don't read very often in because it's only when I get the chance to be there, but I do love reading in airports, like not on a plane, just in the airport, like as you're waiting for your plane. I think there's like so much anticipation and excitement about reading in an airport, bringing this book that you are excited to start reading on vacation, and like sitting in the airport as everyone is going by doing their thing and reading this book. I don't know why. I don't know what it is about it, but I get really excited whenever I'm going on a trip and getting to the airport early and opening my book and reading it. That's always a lot of fun. Our last question is one book you promise to read soon. I made a whole fall TBR video, which I will link below if you are interested in the books that I am hoping and planning on reading this fall. So far, I'm doing pretty good. I've checked a couple of them off already this month, which is exciting. But a book that I promise I'm going to read soon, and I know I'm going to read soon because Victober is right around the corner, and that is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This book I've owned literally forever, never gotten to it, and this is the year I'm going to finally read it. I'm not sure I'm going to love it, but that's okay. I'm going to read it nonetheless, I promise. All right, that is it for the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 book tag. I would love to hear your answers to any and all of the questions below in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.